Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, aka Stitcherista here on YouTube, and today is going to be another diamond paint with me while I continue working on Treasure Studios Art Cherry Blossom by Lizzie Falcon, and it will be a true crime story time. Today is Monday, August 16th. I do have a gift that I want to show you from the lovely Sandra, who has been a really wonderful online friend over the past couple of years. She said, I wanted to get you something because of the crappy work schedule you have coming up. Take time for yourself. Just love these candles. The crackling is very relaxing. It absolutely is. So I had this on my Amazon wish list. This is my favorite scent. It's Fireside, Redwood, and Sandalwood Clove. It smells so good. I'm almost done the other one I have. I only have like this much left of it. So I've been burning it every night. And I had actually had 2 candles on there. She bought me the other one. It's coming today, I think. So, Sandra, thank you so very much. Very, very much appreciate that. And if you do buy anything off of my wish list for Amazon, it does come to my house. So, that's awesome. Okay. I did have some coffee bought for me over the weekend. So, Amanda Gaudry bought me 2 coffees and says, I am a fairly recent new subscriber and I love listening to your videos while I diamond paint. I love your spunk and listening to the true crime stories. Cheers. Amanda, thank you so very much. And then Bonnie Adams bought me a coffee and says, I've been watching your videos a whole year now. I enjoy every single one of them. Keep being you. Thank you so very much, Bonnie. Very, very much appreciated. Okay, let's talk about the weekend first before we do the story. So Friday I worked late. Yeah, worked till like 7:30. Yeah. And what did we do for dinner? We went out. Where'd we go? God, my brain. We went to Carrabba's. It was actually really good. I splurged a little bit. I had some of their bread. So good. So we went to Carrabba's, and then Saturday we actually had a birthday party to go to. I had a massage in the morning, and then I went to go get a coffee. I had to stop at Michael's, and boy, I hope this is the right symbol. It is, thank God. Okay. Oh, I just realized I forgot to lock the autofocus. Okay. So we had to be at the party at 1. So when I got back from the massage and all that, I had to get right in the shower. Well, it's been hot here. It wasn't hot yesterday. It actually was pretty decent yesterday. But before that, it's been like 95, 90, ridiculously hot. Saturday was no exception. And this party is outside. Now, they have like a garage that's like cooler that you can go sit in if you're dying. So I wore like my khaki capri pants. This is so embarrassing what I'm about to tell you. So we're sitting, and I sat a long time just in like fold-up chair, right? And didn't realize I had literally sweated through my pants. Now, the pants I had on were a gray color. So Bill was in the pool, and I stood up to take like a video of him. And I'm like, my pants feel wet. And everyone saw it because everyone that was sitting at the table saw me stand up to take this video. When I sat back down, I like looked down and realized that it looked like I had peed my pants. That's how much I had sweated and didn't realize it. And no one said anything because everyone's, nice. I was just mortified inside. I was like, oh my fucking God. So I discreetly got up and went inside and stood in front of a fan. I swear to God, I kid you not. So Bill comes in and he's like, what are you doing? So I explained it. And there were a couple people standing there, and I was just like, I don't even care. I'm like, it literally looks like I peed my pants. Luckily, the fan dried it, and I wound up staying in there for the rest of the time that we were there. We were there from about 1 until 5:30. And I was like, I'm ready to go. So we came home and watched some TV and went to bed. And then Sunday, we just hung around here. We had groceries delivered. I was actually feeling really, really tired. So we just hung around here. I did some stitching stuff and got some, fooled with my stitching stuff because I actually decided I want to do a rotation. So I was getting all that together, and we had dinner. We had wings for dinner. And then we, watched TV, went to bed. I worked on my stitching project. I was in bed by 10, so decent. And now today, my job does not start until 12:30, but it's on California time, which it says expected end time 5 p.m. I pray that's wrong because that's 8 o'clock here. I told Bill, I said, got to be prepared for me to be working late again today. And I'm like, motherfucker. Now we have nothing on the schedule tomorrow and Wednesday, and I'm kind of hoping we don't get anything for tomorrow. I'd love to have a day off during the week. It's just the past couple days have just been brutal for work. Yeah. My DMC chest came on Saturday. And I'm going to, after I film this video, because I'm filming this it's 10:30 in the morning here. After I film this, I'm going to film that because I should have time to do that unboxing and put that up today. I can't wait to open it. It's been sitting on my desk now, or my table now, for 2 days because I didn't open the box at all. All right, so today's story is called Blood of My Brother. So this is a complex and controversial case, a case where the circumstantial evidence lines up, but the forensics do not. A case where the accused swears to his innocence, yet provided a false alibi to investigators. What? A case that draws comparisons with the parable of Cain and Abel. Oh boy. So the facts are simple. On Halloween night, 1975, a killer broke into a farmhouse outside of Cedar Falls, Iowa. He proceeded to execute 25-year-old Leslie Mark, his wife Georgine, also 25, and their 2 children, Julie 5 and Jeffrey just 18 months old. Why? He then drove away, leaving important evidence at the scene: several Marlboro cigarette butts and a couple of .38 caliber bullets. And it was these items that would ultimately secure a conviction. It is also these items that would be the source of the debate to come. So we have to go back to the beginning, obviously, though, to get the whole story. The morning of November 1st, 1975, when Dorothy Mark arrived at the farm and walked in on the massacre of her son and his family. So I'm guessing that's his mother. Dorothy immediately called the police, and in no time at all, the farmyard was swarming with police cruisers, their roof lights sending sweeps of red and blue across the surrounding buildings. And murder was a rare thing in this county. So this is Black Hawk County. So a murder like this one had never happened before. And I can't imagine coming in and finding your son, your daughter-in-law, and your grandson murdered. I mean, you probably even wouldn't believe it. So Leslie and Georgine were found in their blood-drenched bedroom, each of them shot multiple times. Leslie had suffered 4 wounds to the head and 1 to the stomach. Georgine had been shot twice in the head and twice in the abdomen. She had also suffered a bullet wound to the back, perhaps as she tried to flee. The scene suggested that the shooter had opened fire on the couple while they slept, so they would have had no chance to defend themselves at all. Having shot to death the 2 adults in the home, the killer then proceeded to the bedroom of 5-year-old Julie, and the little girl must undoubtedly have been awakened, right, by the gunshots. And, you can imagine her cowering in fear when he entered. Oh my God. So a bullet to the chest and another that passed through her right eye ended her life. Wow. The killer then smoked a cigarette, dropping the butt in Julie's room before moving on, and there was one more occupant in the house. Jeffrey's tender age, which he was only, 7, 8 months, it said, it didn't spare him. The toddler was shot in the chest and in the head. It truly is a different kind of evil to kill young children like that. So the savagery of these killings made the police doubly determined to hunt down the perpetrator and bring him to justice. They started their inquiries, as in most homicide investigations, by trying to establish a motive. You want to fucking know why do people do these things, right? That's my first question. Why? Robbery or sexual assault could immediately be ruled out because nothing had been taken from the house and neither of the female occupants had been molested. So what then of some kind of revenge attack? That too was discounted. The Mark family had lived in the area for generations and were well respected. Leslie was a hardworking, salt-of-the-earth kind of guy who everyone seemed to like, so why then had he and his family been so ruthlessly gunned down? It was while exploring the possibility of a financial motive that investigators got their first lead in the case. It turned out that there was bad blood between Leslie and his older brother Jerry over the ownership of the family farm. Oh boy. Oh, I see. Okay, so, oh boy. So Leslie and Jerry Mark had followed very different paths through life. For Jerry, Cedar Falls had been a place to escape, and he had done so immediately after graduating high school. He had gone on to college and obtained a law degree before joining the Peace Corps. That's impressive. After spending 2 years working with the Peace Corps in Brazil, he returned to the U.S. and settled in Berkeley, California. There he had become deeply involved in the hippie lifestyle and in radical left-wing politics. By contrast, Leslie had stayed home in Cedar Falls and had attended the University of Northern Iowa. After obtaining his degree, he returned to working the family's 1,200 acres of corn and soybeans. He married his college sweetheart, Georgine, and the couple had their 2 children. When his father, Wayne, eventually decided to retire, it seemed only natural that the farm would pass to Leslie. He, after all, had dedicated his life to working the land. Only Jerry didn't see it that way. As the oldest of the 4 Mark siblings, he believed that the farm should have been passed to him, and he blamed Leslie. He said, "My little brother screwed me out of my farm." So this, prosecutors would later assert, was the motive behind the massacre. That makes sense. But a homicide conviction could not be built on motive alone. Investigators needed evidence, and they would soon have it because the cigarette butt's number 1, right? They were sent for forensic analysis, and the retrieved saliva was found to be type O. Jerry Mark was type O. Then there were the .38 caliber rounds found at the scene. These turned out to be of a rare long Colt variant. Jerry had bought a box of exactly this type of ammunition in the week before the murder. Jerry had now been linked to the killings via 2 points of forensic evidence. But Jerry lived in California and the murders had occurred in Iowa, so how had he bridged that distance, right? Could investigators place him in or near Cedar Falls at the time of the shootings? Could they place him at any point in between? And it turns out they could. Jerry had embarked on a road trip on the morning of October 29th, riding his motorcycle east. He had been spotted in Lovelock, Nevada, Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Chapel, Nebraska, arriving there on the morning of October 31st. Witnesses also placed him in Brady, Nebraska, and at the Shamrock Cafe in Atlantic, Iowa. Finally, he was seen at a gas station in Ackley, Iowa. This was at around 8 p.m. on October 31st, just hours before the murders. Ackley is only 36 miles from the Mark farm, and so it was time for the police to bring Jerry in for questioning. So Jerry was happy to answer the questions put to him by the police, although he seemed decidedly cagey under interrogation. This might have been due to his anti-establishment leanings, or perhaps it was just his legal training kicking in. Remember, he has a law degree. Either way, he answered all of the questions asked of him, and the problem was that he did not answer them truthfully. What? Although he admitted buying the ammunition, he said that he'd made the purchase because of his membership of the Weather Underground. This was a radical group who were suspected of a number of bombings during the 60s, but the group had all but ceased operations by 1973 and had in any case never resorted to gun violence. So why had Jerry found it necessary to stock up on ammunition, and the explanation he gave police just made no sense. But Jerry's biggest lie was about the road trip he had taken on his Honda motorcycle. Initially, he claimed that he had ridden to Southern California. However, when investigators confronted him with evidence to the contrary, he changed his story. He now claimed that he picked up a female hitchhiker and taken her to Wyoming. He lied about this, he said, because he did not want his girlfriend to find out that he had had sex with the woman. He still denied, however, that he had ridden to Iowa, insisting that anyone who claimed to have seen him must be mistaken. One more detail that added to the suspicions of investigators was the fact that Jerry had made the road trip with false license plates on his motorcycle. These were Iowa plates, transferred from a smaller motorcycle that he owned. Why even do that? So the police now had motive, they had forensic evidence, and they had witness statements. They had caught their main suspect in a series of lies. They also had a crime scene that suggested a killer who knew the victims. The level of overkill suggested strong feelings of anger, right? Yeah, I mean, the way that they were shot and stuff. This was not some spur-of-the-moment atrocity committed by a random stranger. Whoever had killed Leslie and his family had done so in anger, perhaps to right some perceived wrong, as in the farm. So one more piece of evidence would convince prosecutors that they had a winnable case against Jerry. It came when detectives obtained the rest of the ammunition that Jerry had purchased and submitted it for comparison with the unspent rounds found at the crime scene. A popular method during that era was bullet lead analysis conducted by the FBI laboratory, and the results came back positive. The bullets found at the crime scene were from the same box that detectives had taken from Jerry's house. Arrested and charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder, Jerry was extradited to Iowa to stand trial, and the case against him appeared pretty damning, but Jerry declined to cop a deal, insisting that he had loved his brother, had loved his niece and nephew, that he would never have harmed them. Given the strong case that the prosecution presented against him, it is unsurprising that the jury rejected his plea and found him guilty on all counts. So the sentence of the court was 4 consecutive life terms, effectively life without parole. Yeah, he's not getting out of prison. So on the face of it, it is easy to see how the jury would have come to its conclusion. However, the years since have thrown up some new information that forces us to question whether the correct verdict was actually reached. First, there was the forensic science of bullet lead analysis, a key component in the prosecution case. This was considered cutting edge at the time, but has since been abandoned by the FBI due to its notoriously unreliable results. Really? The match that was reported at the time might not have been a match at all. Oh boy. Even less compelling is the saliva test done on the cigarette butts. These returned type O, which was correctly flagged at the time as a match to Jerry. The thing is, it is also a match to 40% of the U.S. population. A DNA test might have provided a more accurate outcome, but this was not an option back in 1975. When the technology became widely available in the 1990s, Jerry's attorneys filed a motion to have the evidence tested. These tests would prove beyond any doubt. Really? These tests would prove beyond any doubt that the DNA lifted from the Marlboros did not come from Jerry. Oh my God. Based largely on this evidence, Jerry was granted a new trial in 2005. However, the matter never made it to court as the U.S. 8th Circuit Court of Appeals overturned the ruling. Wow. Wow, because the DNA. Then who was it? It says, and so Jerry remains behind bars, still vigorously protesting his innocence after nearly 5 decades of incarceration. 50 years. Is he telling the truth? Had he been wrongly convicted? Did the real killer get away with murder? Only Jerry can answer those questions, and all we can do is look at the evidence and ask whether there was enough to convict, One thing is clear, there is certainly room for reasonable doubt, right? In a modern courtroom with a competent attorney presenting his case, Jerry would most likely have been acquitted. If in that DNA evidence right there gives you reasonable doubt. But I'm just curious, okay, if it isn't him, then who is it and why? Maybe he had somebody else do it, right? Maybe he hired somebody else. Who knows? That's a very interesting case, though. Like, I can't imagine if he actually is innocent, how you feel serving all that time in prison. I mean, that's just horrific if it's true. Wow. I did start reading a new book, and I read a book over the weekend, Freeze Tag by Caroline B. Cooney. Oh my God, love that. One of my vintage teen books. Love it. This one is called That Weekend by Kara Thomas. And let me tell you what the premise is. So, 3 best friends, a lake house, a secret trip. What could go wrong? It was supposed to be the perfect prom weekend getaway. But it's clear something terrible happened when Claire wakes up alone and bloodied on a hiking trail with no memory of the past 48 hours. Now everyone wants answers, most of all Claire. She remembers Friday night, but after that, nothing. And now Kat and Jesse, her best friends, are missing. What happened on the mountain, and where are Kat and Jesse? Claire knows the answers are buried somewhere in her memory, but as she's learning, everyone has secrets, even her best friends, and she's pretty sure she's not going to like what she remembers. I read the first chapter today. It's actually pretty good because she is discovered by this hiker, and it's like, can you imagine being in that situation? I really can't. I really, really can't imagine it. Okay, so we always end on a positive affirmation from A Year of Positive Thinking by Cindy Spiegel. And like I said before, today is Monday, August 16th. Today's affirmation is, contentment is a choice. Contentment is like a big old hug at the end of a hard day. You inhale deeply, and everything else disappears around you. It's a satisfaction, joy, and ease that you experience when you decide that what you have is plenty. The one caveat is that you are the only person who decides whether contentment is possible or impossible. It's very true, because there are so many people that I think live their lives never satisfied, always wanting more, always thinking there's something better out there. The guy I dated before Bill was the epitome of that. He was never satisfied with his job, with where we lived, with anything. And it was exhausting because I feel like I'm a pretty content person. Not that I don't strive and I don't have goals, but it drove me bananas how much just never satisfied. And it's like, if you don't find it, meaning people that are never satisfied, I feel bad for them, because that must be a difficult life to row or to go through, never finding contentment at all. But yeah, it was exhausting being with that person. In the end, it really was. So find joy in what you have. Find joy. And, I'm guilty of it too sometimes, of course, with buying all the cross-stitch stuff and constantly buying, not constantly, I haven't bought a diamond painting in a while, but you got to sit down and just take a breath, right? Like, and I think some people think they equate contentment with either boredom or that you're stagnant, and that's not necessarily true, not at all. So, I hope you guys all have a fantastic Monday. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.